Please join me in welcoming. Thank you, Ms. Toastmaster. Well, March of 2015, almost a year after my husband Jeff and I got married, we took a trip to Las Vegas for the first round of the NCAA basketball tournament, the first weekend rather. We love Vegas and we love March Madness, so we were really excited about this trip. But what made us even more excited was the fact that we were going to ditch the birth control and try to start our family that weekend. We joked that we were going to come home with with no money and a little Vegas baby. We did lose a lot of money, thanks in part to the Wichita State Shockers beating my Jayhawks in the second round. But we didn't come home with a baby either. Fast forward to 29 months to November 2017, still no baby. By this point, we've tried just about everything we could. We've been to all the different specialists. We got to the point where the last thing we were going to try was IVF, which is short for in vitro fertilization. And IVF is kind of that last step you take in the fertility journey before surrogacy or adoption. And those of you who've dealt with IVF or know about it know that it can be draining both emotionally and financially. So we were not looking forward to this trip. We were going to Denver in January. Denver has the best IVF clinic in the country. We thought it's such a terrible thing to have to go through. Why not go to the best clinic and try to do it just once? But we thought by booking that trip that maybe we'd trick our bodies into conceiving naturally. And we thought we were very hopeful that month that we wouldn't have to have a baby using a petri dish. But November 29th rolled around about a month later, and my old nemesis, Aunt Flo, came to visit. Everybody knows who Aunt Flo is, right? That uninvited guest that visits women monthly. Well, when she came that month, for some reason I lost it. This was the first time that I had broken down in 29 months. And I don't know, I think I had always had this next step, this hopeful. Now I'm already getting kind of emotional, but anyway. I got up, I practiced this speech like 5 times. I got up in the middle of the night and I decided that I was gonna write down in my gratitude journal. My husband and I had been keeping this gratitude journal thanks to the pastor at our church who had suggested in Thanksgiving season that you write 3 things you're thankful for every night. So I got up in the middle of the night and I'd like to read you what I wrote. November 29th. I'm thankful to remember to get up out of bed to write what I'm thankful for, even though I'm devastated we missed another opportunity to grow our family. I'm thankful for the strength of our marriage and the love Jeff has for me. I'm thankful that one day these years of struggle, oh my gosh, will result in a blessing the likes of which will make us forget about the struggle. I'm grateful for God's will in our lives. This speech is not meant to educate you about the different types of fertility or infertility or the different treatments that are available. My goal is to make you aware that there are more people dealing with this issue than you think. 1 in 8 couples deal with infertility. That means 2 people in this room have probably dealt with it personally. And you know the pain and the struggle that you go through, you know the loneliness that accompanies it. But what I hated and have hated most about infertility are probably 3 things. The first being the loss of control, the second being the financial stress, and the third being the depression. So the loss of control, I mean, when I'm used to putting inputs into things, I'm used to getting an output. And we put lots of inputs into this, making this baby. Like I said, we visited all the specialists. We took all the supplements we were supposed to take. Our marriage became our romantic life became a schedule, which is not fun on a marriage. And I went to an acupuncturist for a year. Nothing worked, right? And then you have the financial stress you're staring at. It's kind of this abyss because I was one of the unlucky women whose insurance doesn't cover anything fertility related, which is very common. You don't realize until you're in it. But and one cycle of IVF in Denver costs $34,000, which is nothing to sneeze at. I've talked to a lot of women who have gone through what we've been going through, and A lot of them have gotten $200,000 in before they got baby number one, or their first success anyway. And then I asked them, you know, what would they have done to get that baby? How far would they have gone? And they said they would have spent over $1 million for their baby at that point. So there's some perspective to this struggle that you're going through. The third thing is the depression, because you're going through highs and lows every month. You have hope, and then you have despair, and then you have hope, and then you have despair. And pretty soon, you know, after a year at least, the hope kind of tapers off, and the despair just broadens out into this sadness. And you try to stay distracted and happy, but it just continues into this state of depression. And then you have friends that are going through it with you, and then they get pregnant. And so you're very happy for them, but it's also like a punch in the gut. And talk about Facebook and Instagram, you don't want to go on there because it's nothing but happy young families and pregnancy announcements. So I've talked a lot about, and I've bitched a lot about infertility. What could you do if you knew somebody that was going through it? And what I would say is just be careful with your words. If you haven't gone through infertility yourself, try not to give advice. Cliches like, don't think about it, it'll happen, or, you know, it's in God's hands. Things like that are meant to, in a nice way, but they're not all that helpful. What is helpful is sympathy. Things like, I'm really sorry for what you're going through. I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you. That's more helpful. Anyway, so you're probably wondering, it's February now, did the IVF work? Well, I have to admit, on November 29th, that night that I got up in the middle of the night, I was actually pregnant. What we thought was Aunt Flo was actually just signs that we made a baby, so I don't know, I keep right. Anyway, I'd like to introduce you to this little baby boy that I've been cultivating. I did not expect to cry that. Thank you, Laura.